Welcome one, welcome all to Abandon Hope. Let's have a ball. Doing this one, this is the first time I think I've done an Abandon Hope where it wasn't live. Wanted to see what it would be like to just pre-record one. I'll probably still mostly do this live, even though there's not a whole lot of like interaction with it anymore. Moving away from the super chat model and just focusing on the patron model. So, yeah, let's just get right into it. This first thing we're going to look at is a little bit of Fox News stuff. This is some ridiculous-looking bald guy. Not that there's anything wrong with being bald, I myself plan to rock an awesome skullet at some point, But this guy here, I think we can all agree he's absurd, just at a glance, Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's going to have some real poignant, interesting, intelligent things to say, and I'm just prejudging. So I should probably take a step back and let the man have his day in court here.
Welcome back. A new poll shows who Iowa Democrats want as their candidate in 2020. Joe Biden is in first with
oh, excuse me, sorry.
32%, followed by Bernie Sanders with 19%, Beto
Sanders
with 11%, and Elizabeth Warren with 8%. All right, let's start with the campaign guys. Corey.
So wait, this guy hosts a show? I thought this was just a guest. They're letting this dude host something? Okay.
David, look, you're not going to say who,
Oh, God. Look at this panel. Okay, so, like these guys here, I don't know, my cursor, yeah, I have my cursor. This guy and this guy look like a before and after picture. This dude just looks like a smug jackass, and this is just the obligatory hot Fox News chick. And then they're presided over by, Devin Tracy's dad or something. I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Okay.
That President Trump is vulnerable to any of them, but just give us your take on that list, particularly Beto.
Look, he's a complete...
You don't know if President Trump is vulnerable to any of them? Let me make something clear to you. President Trump is vulnerable to anyone. Like, if you ran a plank of wood with a fucking face drawn on it against President Trump, the plank has a chance. So let's just make that clear. So all those candidates have a chance against Trump. I'm not saying that, victory is assured. That's not a good way to think, but... yeah, I think all those people have a chance against him.
Completely unproven commodity. He's never won an election for a real race other than a small congressional district in a big state. And so, look, he's not going to be leading the ticket, that I can guarantee you. What you're going to see is a Michael Bloomberg, a Joe Biden, maybe Crooked H back on the top of the ticket somewhere. We don't know.
Bloomberg, this guy, okay, look, well, Biden, at least there's polling to support the idea of Biden being at the top of the ticket. Now, I don't think so, ultimately. I think that at the end of the day, Biden is going to spin his wheels in the mud. I think I think a lot of people are just looking back at fondness. A lot of people on the left in America looking back with fondness at the Obama administration. Like, remember when there was dignity? Remember when our president could lie to us with dignity? Remember when our president could do evil stuff, but he still seemed like a nice guy because the media wasn't trying to jump down his throat? We can't get Obama back. That's unconstitutional. But maybe we can get Biden in there. We got to get Biden, you guys. I don't think so. I don't think Biden is going anywhere. I think that people are Biden's going to hit the campaign trail, assuming he even decides to run. Biden's going to hit the campaign trail, and immediately it's just going to be like, wait, this guy, actually, now that I'm remembering, kind of sucks. He's not very charismatic. He's not very interesting. He's a total fucking gaffe machine. He's a bloviating nitwit, and he's not dynamic. He's not interesting. He doesn't have any exciting ideas for a new direction to take this country in. He's about as compelling as a bowl of fucking porridge. So I think that you're just going to see that favorability in polls number just go down and down and down. That's my prediction as far as Biden. Bloomberg and what was the other one? Crooked H, Hillary. Yeah, those people are not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. America would never fucking in a million years consider Bloomberg. And Democrats would rather slit their own fucking throats than put Hillary back on top of the ticket and repeat the failure of 2016. So this guy has no fucking idea what he's talking about, in my opinion.
This is what I thought when I watched her concession. At that moment, I thought, you have not given up. You're going to be going.
She'll never give up.
We could only hope. Look, the Democrats are. I don't think that they can do that to themselves again, put her at the top of the ticket.
Well, at least this guy has sense enough to know that.
Elizabeth Warren has really worn out her welcome with the American people. I don't think she's going to be strong. Joe Biden is a serious candidate. There's no question about that. He will give this president a run for his money when it comes to the working men and women, the blue-collar worker that Joe Biden has spent his career trying to cultivate his image within that. But if you look at the man,
Joe Biden's a joke. All right. I don't know why. Well, I do know why a panel of Fox News people are pushing the Joe Biden narrative. But yeah, I don't think that's. I feel like I got my finger on the pulse of Democratic voters a little bit better than this group, and I'm not feeling the Biden rumble. Bro, Biden. Yes, Biden is the one. He will lead us to victory. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't care what the polling says. Call it unscientific for me to go against the polling, but you can't put all your faith in the polls. When you do, you end up with predictions like there's a 98% chance Hillary's gonna win. There was never a 98% chance Hillary was going to win. Was there a significant chance Hillary could win? Yes, obviously. And she got more votes than Donald Trump. She just didn't get them where they fucking counted. So whatever. Polls are one thing, and I'm sure that Biden enjoys some popular support now just on the fond memories that some of the more mainstream Democrats have of Obama, but he's not exciting. He's not going to energize anybody. So this Biden talk, totally premature, in my opinion.
Manufacturing jobs that this president has brought back that under Obama and Biden, they were destroyed. You look at the economy. I think this president has a pretty good record to run on, a very good record to run on. But I'm not really worried about that.
I'm sure you do, Fox News. I'm sure you do.
It's the Michael Bloombergs, the Oprah Winfreys, the out-of-the-box candidate.
Okay, Bloomberg. I don't know what the fuck you guys are thinking with this Bloomberg shit. No one wants Bloomberg, okay? First of all, he's a billionaire, which I don't know if you've noticed, but Democratic Party, not too keen on billionaires as of late. We already feel like with Trump, you had someone buy the election. Now, I don't even think Trump really is a billionaire. But even if he is, he didn't really put his own money in it, but there is this popular perception of like he's some out of touch elitist rich guy. And you look at polling support for things like Elizabeth Warren proposed that we tax existent wealth at a rate of like 1 or 2% a year, and that polls well with the American people. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said we should introduce a 70% marginal tax rate for income earned over $10 million. And they polled that, and that polls well. Not just with Democrats, by the way. It polls well with independents and Republicans, too. Raising capital gains, all the state tax, whatever. Any tax that is proposed against the millionaire and billionaire class, Americans seem to be kind of on board with that right now, regardless of political affiliation. What that tells me is there is a tremendous amount of antipathy out there towards the billionaire class, because I think people recognize that they've gotten a free ride for a bit too long at this point. They've caught a little bit too many breaks, and it's time for them to pay a little bit more. Pay a little bit more into it, especially when so many corporations, like we know, there's been so many years where GM has paid no taxes. We just heard a little while back that Netflix, despite making huge revenues, is paying nothing in taxes. How is the average American supposed to feel when they look at their tax bill and they say, oh, I owe the government, $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever the case may be. but Netflix doesn't owe the government anything. Now, maybe, the executives at Netflix or whatever own it or might owe something, but, a lot of their money is, in some sort of tax haven somewhere. They play musical chairs with their money to keep it away from taxation. And they can do that because they're rich and powerful and they know all the right things to do. And they've got high-powered accountants that can make sure that they pay virtually nothing. And the American people are sick of that state of affairs. And we're tired of billionaires. We're tired of the billionaire class. Jeff Bezos, hugely unpopular guy, left and right, looked at as just a stunning piece of shit. Howard Schultz, the Starbucks guy, trying to get into the election, to talk about his presidential run, polling at like 4% across the board, 4% positive ratings across the board, like tiny little chunk of Democrats, tiny little chunk of independents, tiny little chunk of Republicans want Howard Schultz to buy his way into this election process. So there's a huge amount of antagonism towards the super wealthy in this country. So to say that Bloomberg, a guy who is, was responsible for such unpopular ideas as we're going to limit the size of a soda you can get at a concession stand or a restaurant or whatever. You think that guy, that authoritarian left douchebag, is going to get any traction within the modern day economic populist sort of Democrat Party? Now, I know the party leadership is still very much on the using the Bloomberg kind of playbook, which is why you have like Nancy Pelosi in leadership and Chuck Schumer in leadership. But it seems to me like the rising stars in the Democrat Party are not, elitist billionaire types. They are, I'm a former bartender from the Bronx who has all of these radical ideas about how we're going to totally overhaul American society. This is my Green New Deal. Bernie Sanders, Medicare for all, free college, all this stuff. We had Andrew Yang, who just recently got on my radar talking about universal basic income. We have people like Tulsi Gabbard pushing for the same sort of progressive policies that Bernie does. And a lot of Democrats running for office have not discounted the idea of the Green New Deal or, the Medicare for all and all these other provisions and programs and stuff. Now, a lot of them are just paying lip service because they don't want to isolate or alienate those voters as of yet. But for the most part, the direction of the Democrat Party is not like we're moving towards like a Bloomberg figure. Now, Oprah, maybe, because, hey, we're just... I maintain that the people on the left, by and large, are just as stupid as the people on the right, and just as the right wing was suckered by a reality star who said he's going to build a wall, who knows what what liberals might be like, ooh, Oprah, huh? So I guess I can't totally discount the idea of an Oprah. Even though she, too, is a billionaire. But she's got that, like, media, I'm larger-than-life media personality, just like Trump. So maybe her. I doubt it severely, but I can see that a little more than Bloomberg. This idea that Bloomberg is on any Democrat's radar as a serious contender for, getting this nomination is just fucking ludicrous to me. Anyway, I've been bloviating for way too long. Let's let the idiots talk.
I agree with you about Oprah. Just one thought on Beto. Everyone's going on about Beto.
Well, first of all, let's talk about it. His real name is Robert. So let's first of all, let's get that out there in the open. His real name.
Oh, that's so relevant. Wow, thanks, blonde-haired bimbo, for your brilliant contribution to the conversation. His real name is Robert. Like, why is that? Who cares? Who gives a shit what his real name is? I don't care if his real name is Robert. Does anyone care? Does anyone that doesn't vote a straight R ticket give a shit if Beto O'Rourke was born Robert? I don't. I don't see why anyone could care. So he decided he wanted a cooler sounding name than Robert. Big fucking deal. Who gives a shit? What does that have to do with anything? You idiot. You empty-headed fucking cream-faced loon.
His name is Robert. So that was
Funnily enough, it's the name I was thinking about. I was like, what's his nickname?
Yeah, shut her up. Good idea.
Name going to be? And funnily enough, and in the context of Elizabeth Warren, so there was a nickname that the president used for Elizabeth Warren before he settled on Pocahontas. It's one of my favorites, actually, but he didn't use it very much. Goofy. He called her Goofy Elizabeth Warren. He did that at least once, maybe more. I think that's a really good one for Beto. Just saying. Anyway,
I think Robert's a good name.
I think we should just call him
what his
Robert.
actual name is. That's probably right.
Just call him Robert. Look, I'm no huge Beto O'Rourke fan. The criticism has been thrown around about him as like white Obama. Look, I think that Beto O'Rourke did what he needed to do. He went out there, he challenged Ted Cruz, a bunch of money was poured into his campaign. He could not unseat Ted Cruz. He got real close, and it was respectable, and he was a hard worker, and he got out there on the campaign trail, and he visited every single district in the huge fucking state of Texas. And he talked to voters, and he fucking shook hands and kissed babies and did all the stupid shit that politicians in America have to do to get elected. And he didn't make it. But, you know, in the process of energizing the Democrats in Texas, he did flip a bunch of, you know, local seats. Texas is a much bluer state now than it was before the advent of Beto O'Rourke. But he didn't win, you know, and as much as I hate to admit that any of these people have a point, yeah, he's still a loser. You know, to take someone who couldn't beat Ted Cruz and say he's going to beat Trump, I mean, like, that's like saying, you know, you didn't beat the first level of Super Mario Brothers, but you're definitely going to kick World 8's ass. It's like, no, it's actually more difficult to beat Trump than it is to beat Cruz. Now, maybe you could make an argument against me there and say, well, you know, you're in Texas is way more red than America as a whole. So maybe Beto is just the guy we need. But the problem is he doesn't have, you know, you got to have some sort of impressive position to run for president from. You have to be a governor. You have to be a senator. You have to be at least a powerful congressperson. Or maybe in the case of someone like Trump, a noted public figure with a long history in business or something like that. There has to be, you have to be on a high enough pillar of the social hierarchy where when you say I'm running for president, people take it seriously. Now, maybe that's unfair. Maybe that's not a reasonable standard. But you know what? Maybe it is, because people want some proof that you're actually able to organize something, to run something big and delegate responsibilities to people and ensure that you can actually do the job that you need to be able to do as commander-in-chief, overseeing the entire country. And Beto, unfortunately, you know, did he run a hell of a campaign? Absolutely. Did he win it? No, he didn't. So he you know, in my mind, he's a fucking loser. He's an impressive loser. And, you know, I think he should get back on that horse and try again. Maybe he can run for the governorship of Texas. Maybe he can run for some other position in Texas. But as things stand, you know, he just isn't where he needs to be to run for president. Now, I could be totally wrong, totally off base. Maybe he's going to just show his campaigning chops yet again and really mobilize people and really get his name out there in a big, powerful way. But, you know, he strikes me as kind of your typical sort of center-left, I'm a moderate milquetoast Democrat who's, you know, probably not... He's probably not far enough left to energize the progressive base of the Democrat Party. Maybe he'll excite some moderates, but it seemed like the moderates are kind of, you know, going with Biden at this point. So if anything, he's going to be competing for Biden's voters, which, you know, Maybe that'll be his strategy. Maybe it should be because I think Beto O'Rourke is definitely a more dynamic, exciting candidate than Joe Snoozy Biden.
I'm with you.
Now, quick turn to the Republican side, because there has been a lot of speculation about a primary challenger for President Trump. What do you think?
No.
Non-starter.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
I have to agree with him on that. There's no primary challenge that's going to be made to Trump. Anyone who tries it is just going to get crushed. They're just going to get crushed because you look at Trump's popularity among registered Republicans, it's huge. They love him. Why wouldn't they? He's doing all the stuff that Fox News has been telling them for years needs to be done. So, of course they love Trump. And they're going to continue to love Trump. And any sort of idea that you're going to get Republican voters to change course in 2020 and go with someone else other than Trump, it's a non-starter. He's absolutely right.
Anat, do you agree with that?
Well, I hope to see Kasich and Jeff Flake. I think that would be
right.
Wonderful. I mean, we would all fall asleep within the first 2 minutes. It would be over. But wouldn't that be wonderful to see Kasich and Jeff Snowflake up there? I'd love it.
And the other thing that I've heard from a number of people, it's started to be written about, is this notion that President Trump is actually not going to run again. And so I just wanted to ask you, what % chance do you...
No, he's running again. Unless it turns out that Trump is dealing with some debilitating health issues or something like that, he's definitely running again. I think we can safely just ignore the rest of this video. It seems to me that they've talked about anything that's actually a real possibility. I feel, as if to signal that I've talked about this long enough, my phone rings. Give me a second. I'm going to switch over to the intro. Sorry about that. You just never know what's going to happen when you're doing this. So yeah, we're done with this, I guess. Next story.
Momentum is building by the day to fully legalize marijuana.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go ahead and get that down to normal speed. Tucker Carlson talks fast. All right, so this story is marijuana. For some reason, marijuana is misspelled. I guess this is not an official release from Fox News. I feel like they would have spelled marijuana correctly. Maybe they wouldn't have. I don't know. Is marijuana more dangerous than we're told? By Tucker Carlson. All right, let's take a look.
Momentum is building by the day to fully legalize marijuana nationally. 10 states have already done that. More restrictions fall away every election cycle. The federal government barely cares about fighting any of this. You hear less and less about the health.
The federal government doesn't barely care about fighting any of this. The federal government doesn't care about fighting any of this. Because let's remember, it's still a Schedule 1 drug. The federal government, federal law trumps state law, been decided a long time ago. So the federal government at any time could send in, the FBI or whatever to go shut down every legal dispensary under the sun and say this is a drug dealing operation and we are going to crack down on this. They have every right to do that. Obama explicitly said, I'm not going to do it. Trump has not explicitly said he's not going to do it, but he hasn't done it. He hasn't shown any inkling he's going to do it. So, there does not seem to be any major push on either side of the political aisle to use the cudgel of the federal government to shut down the free enterprise of marijuana entrepreneurs at this point in American history. Now, maybe that'll change if we get someone even worse than Trump somehow. But currently, we seem to be pretty safe in our weed legal states.
Health risks of marijuana. Does that mean there are no risks? Well,
no. No, you should never assume. It's pretty naive to assume that any drug has no risks. That's a pretty naive position. I know that there are a lot of, like, man, marijuana is a healer and it fucking comes from Mother Earth, man. Well, so does dog shit. So do poison berries, that you eat in the woods and make you sick and you vomit and you fucking get, dysentery or something and you die. So yeah, you can't make the naturalist fallacy with it. You can't just assume that it's 100% positive, it's 100% good. Of course not. This is pretty ridiculous. But I can tell you this about marijuana. Is it way less harmful than booze? Yes. Is it way less harmful probably than caffeine even? Yes. And, look, I love booze, I love caffeine, I love marijuana, I love drugs. Let's just be honest. But marijuana is one of the safest drugs out there. Literally impossible to overdose on. The amount that you would have to take to actually overdose on marijuana is insane. And I'm talking about overdose to death. I'm not talking about overdose to the point of a panic attack. That's not hard to do. You can get there pretty quick. And I've been through it. It's a bad experience. It's not good. But for the most part, you can't die on it unless you're like so high, like, I think I can fly. No, dead. And that has happened. In all fairness, that has happened. But by and large, safer than most of the drugs that are way safer than smoking cigarettes. Another thing I like, unfortunately. I'm just a fucking, I'm just like a drug hotel. It's like, put drugs here, put them wherever. I don't care. Suppository? Oh, this will make you fucking high. What do you got to do with it? Oh, you just shove it up your ass. Okay, well, I'm good with that. I wish bananas did that. Jeez. Anyway, I don't know.
Well, only that many people have an interest in concealing them. Alex Berenson is a former New York Times reporter. He's a great novelist. Now he's the author of an unexpected new book called Tell Your Children, The Truth About Marijuana, Mental Illness, and Violence. He joins us.
All right, so I don't have children, but if I did, I'd tell them, hey, this is marijuana. It's pretty awesome, but you can't do it until you're 18. And that'd be about what I'd say. Don't read this book. It's lies.
All right, Mr. Berenson, thank you very much for coming on. I say unexpected because your bio gives no hint of the kind of person who would write this book, but you have. Why did you write it? What did you find?
Well, you can blame my wife because she's a...
All right, I do. Alex Berenson's wife, fuck you for making this horrible, deceitful book happen. There you go. I'm blaming your wife, just like you commanded me to.
She's a psychiatrist, a forensic psychiatrist, and that means she deals with the criminally mentally ill.
Yes.
Right.
A couple of years ago, she said to me, practically every case I see, people were using cannabis at the time they committed these terrible crimes. And I said to her, that sounds like nonsense. That sounds like reefer madness. And she said, maybe you should look at the studies instead of mansplaining me. And I did. And of course, never argue with your wife. She was totally...
So, yeah, marijuana, always marijuana. Just every time. All these criminals, all the time, marijuana, marijuana, marijuana. So, it couldn't just be that criminals do drugs because they're criminals and they don't care about the law. And, you know, marijuana happens to be the most popular illegal drug. So therefore, by virtue of that, a lot of them are on weed. I mean, like, you mean to tell me that drunks ain't starting shit in this country? Because I've seen a lot of violence go down, fueled by not marijuana, but booze. Tons of it. No one's talking about, you know, we need to tell the truth about booze. No. You're allowed to advertise booze in the Super Bowl. You're allowed to say, this is Coors Light, and this is Corona, and this is Stella Artois, and this is fucking Bacardi, and this is whatever. You know, Super Bowl doesn't turn down one single ad from the booze companies, from the people selling that fucking poison to you. And I'm going to tell you something. As a guy who has done some fucking drugs, nothing has ever fucked me up worse than drinking too much. And I'm talking acid has not done it. Shrooms have not done it. Weed has not even come close to doing it, even during the weed panic attack that I had. Because I only had one. I have not done like cocaine and shit like that. I've done some pills. I've done all kinds of stupid fucking drugs. And I've gotten all kinds of crazy loopy fucking effects. But I'll tell you, the most fucked up that I ever was with something I walked right into a fucking supermarket and bought from a counter without controversy, without anyone caring or blinking an eye or thinking less of me. That's what fucked me up the worst. The worst. Now, of course, with alcohol, it's all about quantity. Because you can drink just a little bit and be like, I'm kind of tipsy. Or you can go way overboard and get so fucking drunk that you can't see an inch in front of your face and you can't control your bladder and you're fucking crying and you can't control your emotional states and you're just lost in an abyss of your fractured mind. You can get to that point on booze. You know, you can consume so much caffeine. A drink that we don't even have an age restriction on caffeine. There's no age restriction on it. You can have as much fucking caffeine as you want. A little fucking 10-year-old can go buy a goddamn Red Bull. There's no law that says he can't. But if you drink, you can drink so much fucking caffeine. You can overdose on caffeine. Way easier than you can overdose on marijuana. It's happened. Doesn't happen a lot because it does take a lot of caffeine to overdose on caffeine. But it's not that hard. You could do it. You go buy a bunch of caffeine pills at the pharmacy or something. Maybe there's an age restriction on that. I don't know. But you go buy a bunch of fucking caffeine pills at the pharmacy. You down that whole fucking thing of caffeine pills. Probably going to die. Your life is at least in jeopardy at that point. And no one gives a shit. That's fine. That's okay. I'm tired of this inconsistent stance that our country has on drugs in general. Anyway, let's let them get into it.
Right. It turns out that there is a proven link between cannabis and psychosis. There's a very, very strong...
Oh, there's a proven link between cannabis and psychosis? A proven link? Holy shit! Well, that defeats... Oh, wait, hold on. Here's the New York Times, the very same paper this guy writes for, by the way. Can cannabis use cause psychosis? Yes. But so can overuse of caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, stimulants, and hallucinogens. Psychosis is a symptom, a temporary disorientation that resembles a waking dream with odd imagined sights and sounds, often accompanied by paranoia or an ominous sensation. So, can marijuana cause that? Yes. Yes, it absolutely can. But can caffeine cause that? Yes. Can nicotine cause that? Yes. Can alcohol cause that? Yes. Can any stimulant cause that? Yes. Can a hallucinogen cause that? Most fucking definitely. In fact, if you're taking hallucinogens, you're probably kind of going for that. So, bullshit, my good friend. It's such a little selective piece of information. Marijuana has been proven to cause psychosis. First of all, in what percent of people who use it? Second of all, why aren't you telling them that the caffeine in the Coca-Cola you let your kids drink could also cause psychosis? Where's that information? Just to be, fair and balanced. I know Fox News dropped the whole fair and balanced sham a few years back, but seems to me like that's kind of a pertinent, important thing here when you're kind of weighing this out. Like, oh, marijuana causes psychosis. Oh, that's bad. It's bad. It can. It can cause psychosis. It's a drug. You know why people take drugs? To alter their mental state. Do you know what happens when you alter your mental state? You alter your mental state. And sometimes that alteration can lead to psychosis. Yeah, that happens. So what? So fucking what?
Risk that if you smoke too much when you're in your teens, you're more likely to develop schizophrenia, which is really a devastating mental illness.
Okay, so once again, back to the same New York Times article. Can heavy use cause schizophrenia or other syndromes? That is the big question, and so far the evidence is not strong enough to answer one way or the other. Even top scientists who specialize in marijuana research are divided, drawing opposite conclusions from the same data. So this is being presented by this guy as like, marijuana in teens can lead to the development of schizophrenia. It's just being presented out there as like, that's a fact. That's proven. Well, it's not proven. There's still healthy debate around that. And even if that were proven, there's a thing called alcohol-induced schizophrenia. You ever heard of that? Look it up. It's a real thing. Once again, a drug that for the vast majority of the American people, totally uncontroversial. I could, within like a fucking 5-mile radius of my house, do you know how many places I could go buy booze right now? I would guess it's probably upward of 100. And I'm not even in a highly populous area. Because literally, any gas station I go to around me is going to have some booze. I can think of at least 5 or 6 liquor stores just up the street. Every supermarket, I can buy booze. How many restaurants around me can I buy booze? Tons of them. Maybe I can't buy hard liquor at all of them, but I can buy at least some beer at most of the restaurants around me. I could definitely buy hard liquor at some of them. And then there's bars around me. There's so many places. And I'm sure that you know, if you live in even a somewhat populous area, I'm sure that you can think of at least 5 or 6 places that are not even a fucking long drive from your house. You can probably think of 5 or 6 places that you could be to in 5 to 10 minutes that'll sell you some fucking alcohol. But no, does it have to say on every bottle of alcohol, Surgeon General's warning, may cause schizophrenia? No. You know why? Because that's a fucking statistical outlier. It's not likely to happen at all. And even if you can prove some kind of link between marijuana and schizophrenia, it's the same way. It's a fucking outlier. It's a fucking outlier. Because you know what? If there was a strong connection between smoking some weed and getting schizophrenia, this country, we would be drowning in schizophrenic people. Now, I think that this country as a whole sometimes is kind of schizophrenic, but that's just because you got so many different people running around with so many different ideas and so many different perceptions. But in terms of an individual being schizophrenic, they're a tiny little speck of the fucking population. Very few schizophrenic people running around this country. And I've known some. And, I don't know if marijuana contributed to any of the schizophrenia that I've ever seen or encountered in my life. But I can tell you this. Schizophrenia is marginal. Marginal. And obviously, schizophrenia appears all the time in people who've never fucking touched marijuana in their fucking lives. And in fact, I did some research and reading onto this. Some schizophrenic people actually use marijuana to keep their symptoms under control. Now, that doesn't work for everybody. Sometimes marijuana makes it worse. A lot of times it does. But for some people, it's actually helpful in dealing with their schizophrenia. But the jury is still out. The jury is still out. And I'm not saying I'm not sitting here right now being just as bad as this guy and saying there's no way there's a link. There's no fucking way there's a link. Maybe there is. But if there is, it's like this. It's a little tiny thing. It's a little speck. Oh, look how small. Look how tiny. Look how insignificant.
For people, awful for not just for the people who suffer, but their families. It destroys families, and furthermore, there's a downstream link between psychosis and violence. So, reefer madness basically is real, as a psychiatrist in Australia said to me.
Okay, go watch the film Reefer Madness. I'm assuming if you're saying Reefer Madness is real, then go watch the film Reefer Madness and explain to me how it's even remotely realistic. In Reefer Madness, you literally have like straight-laced kind of like, I am a good upstanding, oh, what is this? Some marijuana. Oh, now I am a murderous psychopath on a killing spree, and I have no regard for the safety of myself or others. If you're going to look at that film and say, oh, that's a realistic film, then you're not to be taken seriously, sir. On the basis of it causes psychosis like every other fucking drug ever, and it may have some link to schizophrenia that hasn't even been proven yet, then on the basis of that, Reefer Madness is an accurate film. That's just dumb. That's just fucking back-asswards, stupid fucking thinking. It's like saying because, you saw a weird light in the sky that you couldn't identify, that means that, that's a definite confirmation that extraterrestrials are coming down to this planet abducting people and performing experiments on them and shoving anal probes in them and things. Which, maybe that's happening, but you seeing a fucking light in the sky is not evidence of it. You're taking like a little tiny insignificant data point and extrapolating it so far beyond what it actually indicates. You're just a disingenuous, lying piece of shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't blame you. Blame your wife. Your wife made you a disingenuous, lying piece of shit. And she should be ashamed.
To me,
wait, do you know how let me just pause by noting.
God, I'm just looking at that joint. I'm just like, give me that fucking joint.
How uncool you sound by saying that.
I know. You know what? I don't care. I have kids.
Wow, that's the token opposition that Tucker Carlson's going to put up with that. You know, what you're saying sounds uncool. How about unscientific, unfounded, divorced from reality? How about that criticism? Because that's the actual criticism, not like, that's uncool. I mean, like, how old are you, Tucker? Like, are you still in high school? Do you still think that people go around judging shit by what's cool and uncool? Like, if you are, like, over 20 and you still give a fuck about what anyone thinks is cool or not cool, you're a dumbass. I feel like I said dumbass in a really weird way there. That was uncool. I'm sorry, guys. I want to be cool.
I don't want them to get psychosis. I don't want them to get schizophrenia.
Yeah!
I want to tell them the truth. And, the reason I wrote this book is so that parents, who have kids.
I got a joint now. What's that? Urge to kill rising. Oh, yeah. Rape and kill. Rape and kill. Oh. Yes, Satan? Yes? My master? My dark lord? Yes? Yes, I see. I see now. The blood of the non-believers. Yes, it must spill. Oh, one more hit. Okay, wait, now I'm getting too lazy. Sorry, Dark Lord, I'll do it later. Oh. Okay, urge to kill fading. Oh. I mean, are you serious? Are you fucking serious? What's that other voice in my head from my schizophrenia I just developed? Oh, I see. Yeah, the other voice in my head also thinks you're an irrational prick. Just wanted to let you know. Here you go, baby. My beautiful wife brought me a joint. Your wife made you write a shitty book. My wife brings me a nice, delicious, juicy, tantalizing, schizophrenia, psychosis-free fucking joint. So pretty, so beautiful. Next story. Thank you very much. Mitch McConnell. It's always a bad day when I have to listen to Mitch McConnell talk. Mitch McConnell, Trump will sign bill, declare national emergency. Let's take a listen.
I've just had an opportunity to speak with President Trump, and I would say to all my
Let's speed
colleagues,
it up a little.
indicated he's prepared to sign the bill. He will also be issuing a national emergency declaration at the same time. And I've indicated to him that I'm going to support the national emergency declaration. So for all of my colleagues, the President will sign the bill. We'll be voting on it shortly.
There's a crisis at the southern border. Interestingly enough, Trump ignored the crisis his first 2 years in office. That's kind of weird. Immigration is not even at a high right now. Illegal immigration, that is. We had, I think we had record immigrant numbers coming in the 90s, back when America actually had some kind of prosperity going. But as of late, not too many people spilling over that border anymore. And the wall has pretty much no chance whatsoever of stopping it. I mean, if you think that the wall is going to stop illegal immigrants from coming to this country, then I just have to ask you, what about all the tunnels? Which we find tunnels all the time. Some of them so sophisticated they have elevators and lighting and all kinds of shit. They're building tunnels like that, but somehow they're gonna lose their tunnel building ability once we build a big concrete wall along our southern border. How's that gonna work? How's that gonna stop visa overstays? How's that gonna stop people going around the wall? Either by one of the land portions that's not guarded or by the sea, I mean, we have terrible fucking port security in this country. We've got a Swiss cheese port security. Virtually nothing is checked. Immigrants are going to fly in, they're going to sail in, they're going to tunnel in, they're going to come in legally but then stay longer than they're supposed to be allowed to. There's so many ways to negate this wall that it's just ludicrous to even propose. Even if there was this national emergency at our southern border, which there isn't by any sort of statistical fucking fact that you could point to, even if there was, this is not even the solution. It's just a boondoggle. It's a waste of fucking money. It's a waste of resources. We're sitting here with D- infrastructure, and instead of fixing the bridges, instead of fixing the roads, instead of fixing the airports, instead of doing anything actually worth a fuck to America, we're going to waste our time, energy, and money on a southern border wall that's not going to do shit. And in the process, Trump is setting up a precedent that just once again unhealthily expands the powers of the executive branch to well beyond what was ever intended. And I hate to agree with that horrible, shrill idiot Nancy Pelosi, but she made a speech about, what's going to happen when a Democrat takes office. You don't think that if Trump gets away with this, you don't think the next time we have a Democratic president, you think they're not going to say, hey, there's now a national emergency gun violence, and we got to take drastic measures on guns, and Congress is not allowed to vote on. I'm just going to do it unilaterally. You don't think that's going to happen? What about health care? Oh, look at all the people dying because of America's inadequate health care. Well, now I, as the Democratic overlord of this country, am going to deal with the health care problem in one fell swoop. So, you open this power up meaning to use it for the conservative agenda. Eventually, it's going to be used against the conservative agenda. So Trump is setting a really bad precedent here for Republicans in the long run. But, you know, it's really a bad precedent for everybody because it just means that the president just inches ever closer to being not really a representative sort of leader that has a system of checks and balances to keep them in line. It just moves them closer to being an autocrat, moves them closer to being a dictator, moves us closer to the day that some president finally says, our country's in such bad shape that I'm just going to declare a national state of emergency and we're going to have to do martial law and there's not going to be an election until this is resolved. And, of course, it'll never be resolved and they'll just be dictator for life. And I know it sounds far-fetched now. It sounds like I'm venturing into some Alex Jones territory, and I'm definitely committing a little bit of a slippery slope fallacy here. But, you know, at the same time, we live in a system built on precedent. You know, and we live in a system governed by primarily lawyers. Most of the people who represent us in Congress and in, you know, in the presidency have been legally educated people who have at one point in time been lawyers. And everything in our court system is built upon precedent. You know, if it happened once, it can happen again. So you let a president skirt the authority of Congress in order to declare a bogus state of emergency based on nothing more than just a gut feeling they have that this is a bad thing going on at the southern border, that the evidence is all against. I mean, like, if there was a time to do this state of emergency, it was in the 90s, because that's when it was at an all-time high. It was crazy amount of influx of illegal immigrants coming into this country. But it's down tremendously since then. So how is now the time that a national emergency needs to be declared on this issue? This is the real emergency that Trump sees is, hey, I'm not really going to have a legacy unless I fulfill this campaign promise that I probably never intended to have to fulfill because I didn't think I was actually going to become president. But now that I am, you know, I want to cement my legacy. And what do my constituents want? What do the people who vote for me want? They want a wall. They don't care if it's not going to work because they're dumb and they think it will. So I got to do it by whatever means necessary. And if I have to destroy a little bit more of the checks and balances that actually keep the commander-in-chief in line to do it, then so fucking be it. And that's dangerous and that's stupid. And that's all I really have to say. I don't care what else fucking Mitch McConnell said. I only got 25 seconds in before I even commented on it, but I've already heard and said enough. So fuck that. This is a bad idea. So this is an article I wanted to do. I have mixed feelings about Tulsi Gabbard. I like what she has to say, but something about her just rubs me a little bit the wrong way, and I'm not sure exactly what or why. I decided to address it head on by watching her appearance on Joe Rogan, because I'm like, well, you know, I don't like when I watch her in a political speech because she seems really fucking fake. She just talks like a politician. She's saying the things I want to hear, but she's not saying them the way I want to hear them. But that's a really superficial way to look at things, and I want to be open-minded and give her a chance. So I'm going to watch her in a more conversational setting, and I tried to watch her on Joe Rogan, and she seemed more authentic on Joe Rogan, but she also seemed to be about the most bland, uninteresting human being I've ever seen, other than, like, you know, Ben Stein or something like that. That being said, in terms of our political philosophies, they're not really far apart from what I can tell. But unfortunately, she is being attacked by the mainstream media in America, probably because she's a non-interventionist candidate. They're trying to use the whole Russia line against her. So let's go ahead and switch to a better view here. Russia's propaganda machine discovers 2020 Democratic candidate Tulsi Gabbard. Experts who track websites and social media linked to Russia have seen stirrings of a possible campaign of support for Hawaii Democrat Tulsi Gabbard. So already we're hearing this bullshit narrative about Russia that we've already seen fruitlessly used against Trump round the clock for 2 years. Now they're trying to turn it against Tulsi Gabbard. And it's just, you know, it's just more McCarthy-era Cold War bullshit from the Democratic establishment, from the liberal elites who don't want Tulsi Gabbard's campaign to go anywhere because they're scared of what she represents. They're scared that she's a non-interventionist. They're scared of the fact that she doesn't want us in Afghanistan anymore, that she doesn't want us doing bombing campaigns in 8 or 9 different countries, that she's not a fucking, you know, neocon or neolib piece of shit, which is what they like. So they've basically turned against her on that front. And now they're saying that she's Putin's new chosen one. Well, wait a minute. Wasn't Trump Putin's chosen one? He's already got Trump in there, so why? I guess he just wants it to be, no matter who wins, they're just a Kremlin puppet, right? So the Russian propaganda machine that tried to influence the 2016 U.S. election is now promoting the presidential aspirations of a controversial Hawaii Democrat who earlier this month declared her intention to run for president in 2020. Now, this is an older article. It's from like 2 weeks ago. An NBC News analysis of the main English language news site employed by Russia in its 2016 election meddling shows Rep. Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, who is set to make her formal announcement Saturday, has become a favorite of the sites Moscow used when it interfered in 2016. Several experts who track websites and social media linked to the Kremlin have also seen what they believe may be the first stirrings of an upcoming Russian campaign of support for Gabbard. Since Gabbard announced her intention to run on January 11th, there have been at least 20 Gabbard stories on 3 major Moscow-based English-language websites affiliated with or supportive of the Russian government. Russia Today, the Russian-owned TV outlet Sputnik News, a radio outlet, and Russia Insider, a blog that experts say closely follows the Kremlin line. The CIA has called RT and Sputnik part of Russia's state-run propaganda machine. Now, as a person who does occasionally watch some Russia Today, I've never even heard of this Sputnik, thing, but I've watched some Russia Today now and then, and I could tell you that are they Russian propaganda? To some extent, they are. They're Russian. They're Russian state-owned media. So you definitely have to be mindful of that and that bias within their political coverage. However, I can tell you that Russia Today is a way better and way less biased news outlet than CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News. Now, that's not to say you should trust them, because you shouldn't be trusting any of these media outlets. They all have an agenda. You always have to ask yourself, who owns this paper, and what are their politics, and how does that control the information that they filter down to me? You should always be skeptical of that. But I can tell you right now, if you're going to act like that, what is this, NBC News here? NBC News is going to act like, oh, Russia Today is propaganda. Oh, and NBC News isn't? NBC News isn't propaganda? Like, last I checked, you motherfuckers had an agenda too. All right? So don't act like you don't. And you know what your agenda is doing right here when you smear Tulsi Gabbard? You're smearing her because she's non-interventionist. You're smearing her because she's against the fucking military-industrial complex that our soldiers, who we all claim to love so very much, are fed into a meat grinder so that defense contractors can make more money and make more big campaign contributions to the people who authorize these wars in the fucking first place. So suck my fucking dick. If anything, the fact that the mainstream media is piling on to Tulsi Gabbard, that's the thing that makes me kind of think she's legit. That's the thing that makes me, because you know why I'm kind of wary of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, why I haven't kind of said, I strongly support her yet? It's because I feel like the press is a little bit too nice to her. And so I feel like, maybe it's faulty reasoning, but the same press that just lies and lies and lies seems really friendly to AOC for the most part. Now, not always. Every once in a while, they'll do the whole, oh, how are you going to pay for it, or whatever the fuck. But for the most part, they seem like they're pretty nice to her. Maybe it's just because she's not in a position of enough power for them to be, they just view her as a useful idiot at this point or something. But Tulsi Gabbard, because she's posing an existential threat to the established order that all of these fat fucking pigs are feeding at the trough of, that's why they have to slam her as, she's controlled by Russia, and Russia wants Tulsi Gabbard, so we better not like her. No. You know what you did? You made me like her more. You made me like her a lot more, mainstream media, so you might want to start playing reverse psychology with me, because we're at the point where whatever you say, I don't look at it as the gold standard of information. I look at it as the gold standard of bullshit. So maybe you guys should start pushing Tulsi Gabbard hardcore, because then I think I'd be like, you know what? Fuck Tulsi Gabbard. I'm just letting you know how to manipulate me, you guys. So that's what you got to do, though. That's what you got to do. If you want to trick me at this point, you're going to have to actually do a little reverse psychology on me. Let's see. Next story here. This is a story I saw by David Pakman. It's called "It's Time to Admit That Many Americans Are Stupid." I fundamentally agree with the title, but a lot of stuff in this video I do not agree with. So let's get into it.
Okay, I guess I should say, although maybe I don't need to, that this segment is not a politically correct segment. If you've been watching this program for a while, you know that political correctness has never been really a priority of mine, and those that are in the so-called realist movement are going to know what I mean. Sometimes you've got to call things what they are, and sometimes you have to realize that what you believe to be an accurate representation of the world simply isn't. And what I'm talking about is that
I need to get some kind of fucking crazy screen behind me with my logo just flying by. That'd be so cool. Where's that budget? Where's that budget?
There are all sorts of really smart pieces all over the place about what's happening to our country, what's happening in the United States right now.
Sure.
Under Trump's America. You have American writers and foreign writers who are trying to sort of figure out.
But don't trust any Russian writers, though.
What exactly has led to this Trumpian America status quo in which we find ourselves during the year 2019? How can people be so gullible? Some writers have ascribed this to fear of losing status, real or perceived, influenced people into voting for Donald Trump in 2016. And yeah, that is part of it. Others have ascribed to racism and xenophobia the motivation to vote for someone like Donald Trump. And of course, that's a part of it, for sure. I can't deny that. We've seen people like Dilbert creator Scott Adams say that it's Donald Trump's skills at persuasion and influence. Even if he doesn't get every policy, Trump's persuasion skills influenced a lot of people to vote for him. And yeah, okay, that's part of it. You have the Hillary was a bad candidate angle. And yeah, okay, that was part of it. But that doesn't explain why Trump today maintains an approval rating in the high 30s or low 40s, depending on where and when you look. We've heard...
You could find it up into the 50s even, if you look at like Rasmussen or something. But yeah, most of the polls do have him in the high 30s, low 40s.
The meme of tribalism and partisanship cited as why we have so many people who support Trump despite being an obvious liar in terms of what he will do and not really even understanding the policies that he espoused. That's also part of it. But we are not going to get beyond the situation in which we find ourselves today until we admit that there are just lots of dumb people and some of them vote. And they don't understand anything, and they're not going to understand anything. So that a solution to the current problem is going to require, it's going to have to be a solution that doesn't include them, all right? Part of it's cultural. That's just a reality. Part of it is a class issue. Part of it is because education and thinking itself have been stigmatized and smeared as liberal nonsense. I'll give you some examples. Trump's trade bloviating. If you believe...
I'm just going to abort this one, actually.
Salve Omnibus. Now,
all right, so next segment here, George Carlin was an SJW.
Salve Omnibus. Now, you may think it odd that I make a video criticizing a dead person, but I see no
No, I don't find that odd at all.
problem with this for 3 reasons.
Wow, we're getting into no one has a problem with that. You gotta give us the 3 reasons why you're gonna do something that no one objects to in the fucking first place. God.
Number 1, I make the videos I want to make, and people watch them who want to watch them.
Yeah, well, also, some people just get stuck watching them because they're so fucking stupid that they're just fodder for content. Better content than this, by the way.
That's how this relationship works. Deal with it.
Deal with it! Alright, I'm dealing with it.
Number 2, does it really matter if the person's dead or not? People will bring up men like...
No, it doesn't. No one said it did! No one said it did. Get to the fucking point!
Christopher Hitchens, who died recently, as well as figures from history, so it's only fair that I can criticize them as well.
Uh-huh.
And number 3, men die, ideas don't.
Uh-huh.
Now,
Blah, blah,
I'm
blah,
debating
blah,
whether or
blah,
not
blah.
to make a video doing an overall criticism of Christopher Hitchens, the god of atheism.
Okay, well, that's great. I'm glad you're debating that. You keep on debating it. That's fine, but this video is called George Carlin was an SJW, so maybe get to that part. I don't know.
Because New Age...
All right, we're speeding you up. You're speeding you up, buddy. We're going all the way to double speed, because this is way slow for my ADD ass.
Atheism as a movement is dying, largely due to the fact...
Is it? Because statistics kind of say the opposite. You know, less and less religiosity in America with each passing new generation, not more and more. So it seems to me like atheism's on the rise. So I don't know. It seems to me like statistically speaking, you know, you're wrong. But I guess in terms of just like ego stroking bullshit, I'm gonna give myself a fucking hand job on this, which I guess is just masturbating. You know, then I guess you're right on that.
That a negative movement can't sustain itself in the long run. And as evident by Atheism Plus and the split between liberal and progressive atheists, as well as other splits as exist with people like AIU, this movement is ripping itself apart as we speak. You add nothing to the conversations, your arguments are overused and boring, and as I want to point out in these sorts of videos, the heroes you looked up to were not heroes, but in fact very flawed, who really only succeeded in their command over language and their eloquent style. Deep down, their arguments were and are absurd.
All right, well, that's fine. Here's an idea. Save that rhetoric for that video, you know? If you're going to do like, I am going to tear apart Christopher Hitchens and his crap arguments, that's fine. You go do that, have fun, you have a fucking blast and a half, my man. But the title of this video, once again, is George Carlin was an SJW. So could we maybe at some fucking point... Minute 19 seconds in now. Could we maybe at some point, I don't know, talk about George Carlin and make your case for why he was an SJW? Be great to just have that happen at some point in this video, I guess. I don't know. Hey, you know, I'm sure you can find a video where I didn't get right to the point, whatever.
Case in point, the late comedian George Carlin. A man I think a lot...
Thank you. Thank you, non-existent Jesus. Okay, we're on George Carlin now. Let's do it.
A lot of liberals and new atheists really look up to as the sort of atheist, free speech, anti-PC firebrand. And it fits the general narrative that in the 1990s and 2000s, when the religious right was on the verge of creating a theocracy, you had this small band of brilliant new atheists stand up to these fascists with reason and logic and manage to defeat them in the end. And as we'll see in this video, or just by looking at history, this was never, ever the case. And the idea of the religious right wanting to create fascist theocracy in America is just as fictitious as the idea of the patriarchy.
I was a victim of my own success, and I did spend some time on those Ed Sullivan shows. I began to realize, not just there, everywhere, all these shows, I didn't fit.
What? A comedian having to work shows where he didn't exactly fit in with the environment? How illuminating! I'm sure this is a completely unique situation that no one's ever had to deal with.
Really? So, like, the first sentence that comes out of his mouth, it's like, sir, I'm sure no one has ever had to deal with that situation before. It's like, you know, he's there to talk about his story, right? So if part of his evolution as a comedian was I didn't fit the mold, so I had to figure out a way to break out of the mold, then that's integral to understand the fucking story. You know? I mean, what? Like, you're gonna jump down his throat for that? I mean, that's just nothing. They'd be like, hey, man, let me tell you a story. So the other day I went to the store. Oh, you went to the store, huh? Who hasn't been to the fucking store? Big deal! It's like, whoa, I'm just trying to tell you the fucking story, dude. I mean, what the fuck?
And here's what I was missing. I was missing who I was.
Yeah, I'm sure Alexander the Great dealt with the same thing. I mean, he's far from home, in Persia, surrounded by foreign culture with foreign customs, alien to Macedon and the Greeks. And he went to his generals and said, man, I'm missing who I am. We should just go back home. No, he went on to conquer India. Do you know why? Because he didn't get bogged down in childish questions like, I'm missing who I am. A man makes himself continuously through his experience. I had to wash dishes and mop floors. Do you think that's the environment that best suits me? You sound like an SJW who needs the world to fit their sensitivities.
What? Okay, I'm going to try to unpack that. So George Carlin's like, my routine doesn't really reflect me. And by the way, the place George Carlin is going with that is not, so the world must change. No, he's like, okay, so obviously I need to find myself in my act. An artist is constantly digging deeper and deeper and finding a more authentic truth. Otherwise, that's artistic death. You know, an artist who doesn't go through that process of digging deeper ends up like fucking Dane Cook or Sinbad or some shit, where they're just, I can superficially be funny. Oh, he's popular. Oh, no, what's the next thing? George Carlin is talking about how he, as a comedian, lasted, had a career that spanned like more than fucking, was it 50 years? From his television appearances back in like the late 50s, early 60s, or whenever he started in showbiz until his dying day in like, what, 2004-ish, I want to say. He's talking about how did he actually stay vital and relevant during that time. And he's talking about the process of, I evaluated the act I was doing on those Ed Sullivan shows, and I say, you know what? This isn't really me. I got to dig deeper. And I got to find something that's even more true, that's more genuine to put out there into the world, because otherwise, oh, and I fucking skipped through your damn video. Because otherwise, I'm just going to be a forgotten relic of this time. I'm not going to have a lasting career. I'm not going to do that. So you're saying that you're basically trying to saddle him with, he's just whining, He's talking about his journey through the fucking process of a more than 50-year career in stand-up comedy, which, by the way, is damn near unprecedented. Not many people can boast to being an active and powerful force in an entertainment industry job for that duration of time. No one is at the top of their game for that long. Very few people are, anyway, the way that George Carlin was. And he's talking about the process of how he did that. He's not whining and saying, oh, the world owes me something. And this ridiculous, like, Alexander the Great wasn't like that. How the fuck do you know what Alexander the Great was like? You don't. You have no fucking idea what Alexander the Great was like. You know the wheres and the wins and all the shit of when at this date he was here and he conquered this. You don't know what was going on in his head. You don't know what doubts he was fucking wrestling with. You don't know shit about Alexander the Great. And frankly, it's a ludicrous fucking comparison. It's a ludicrous comparison. It'd be like me watching your video. Like, let's see, what's the next thing you're going to say?
I'm like an SJW who needs the world to fit their sensitivities.
Right, you already said that.
I began.
Oh, okay, I guess you got nothing more to say on that. There's just, your whole thing is, George Carlin wasn't as confident as Alexander the Great, I assume. Like, what's the comparison, even? Alexander the Great was a fucking warlord and a conqueror. George Carlin was a comedian and an entertainer. And you're comparing them on such a weird, superficial basis. Like, all right, hold on. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more to say, so let's just do this.
With the dream of being Danny Kaye, which is a very mainstream dream. It's very middle America. It's a people pleaser job. And I dreamed a path that was traditional. Comedian, disc jockey, comedian, actor, big success.
And that didn't happen? You're speaking on a televised interview decades later because people are interested in your experience. Hell, this interview was put on YouTube after you died. You've become immortalized in a sense.
A mainstream.
Yeah. So what? What was the point? Why'd you even interrupt there? I don't even see how you added anything. Okay,
Meanwhile,
whatever.
what I really was an outlaw and a rebel.
What, when you were fighting U.S. Marshals in the Old West?
Because I lived in that kind of life. I got kicked out of 3 different schools. I got kicked out of the Air Force. I got kicked out of the choir. I got kicked out of the altar boys. I got kicked out of summer camp. I got kicked out of the Boy Scouts.
I think this is telling. He's using examples of him failing as a way to make himself look good. He's trying to use this to make him seem like this rebel who was so against the grain that he was kicked out of all these organizations. But to me, and I think to most people who value success in life, this is a sign of a deadbeat dropout who has no concern or interest for other people.
Yeah, wow. You know, if one thing you can say about George Carlin and his 50-year fucking career, he was just lazy, deadbeat, dropout kind of guy, you know? Just couldn't find success in the world. Oh, except for he did for generations. And to this day, years, more than a decade after his fucking death, still a fucking legend. More HBO specials under his belt than anybody. I don't even know how many best-selling comedy albums. Tons of successful comedy tours. Toured till his dying day. But you know what? He was just a lazy fucking dork. Unlike, who's this channel? Fritz Imperial with his 6.1 thousand fucking subscribers. Oh, yes, you, sir, are fit to call George Carlin a fucking failure. With your fucking impressive. How long you been doing this? When did your channel start, buddy? I'm gonna go check this out for myself. How long you been at this for your fucking paltry ass 6.1 thousand goddamn subscribers? When was your first fucking video posted? Let's just do it oldest to whatever. Date from the oldest. How long you been at this shit? 2 years. 2 years, 6.1 thousand fucking subscribers. You know what? I don't like to shit on small creators, but when you're gonna fucking look at George Carlin from a standpoint of, this guy was a failure. No, he wasn't. He clearly was not. And if someone were to say that, the only person who has the room to say that is someone who has eclipsed his success many times over. And that means not only being more popular for a short duration of time, that means being as popular as George Carlin was and is for the same amount of time, or maintaining actually a higher level of popularity or a longer duration of respect within his industry. Which, that's a pretty tough fucking challenge, okay? Bill Cosby might have been able to do it if not for his affinity for spiking drinks. Richard Pryor might have been able to do it if he hadn't burned himself trying to light a crack pipe and disappeared from the public eye. Eddie Murphy might have done it if he hadn't devolved into a guy who, when he's in a movie, you want to avoid it like the plague. No. There's not even an analogous person to George Carlin out there. There is not someone that you can look at and say, yeah, he was on TV in the 50s and successfully touring in the 50s and in the 60s and in the 70s and in the 80s and in the 90s and in the 2000s and in the 2010s, at least the beginning of them. Well, not the 2010s, no, because he died before then. This is so fucking frustrating because I'm going to be honest with you. I try to avoid like personal insults and stuff in this, but you are a stupid son of a bitch. Like, you are just goddamn stupid to the point where you shouldn't be talking. All right?
And guess what? The fact that you managed to succeed in life despite all these failings shows the level of prosperity that society has, that you can be a complete loser and still make it. So go.
Oh! Okay. Okay, right. It wasn't it wasn't anything George Carlin did. Wasn't his meticulous refining of material, his relentless touring, his keeping his name out there and making sure that he's constantly reinventing himself and digging deeper and taking that fucking journey. Nothing to do with hard work or being an enterprising person on his part, which he was. It's everything to do with just, society just fucking on a silver platter just handed him whatever. Well, why him then? Why not you? Why not me? Why not any of us? You know, like society just picks a random person like, hey, I'm just going to bestow decades of success and prosperity onto you for no particular reason and through no credit to you yourself. Does that even make sense? Like, you said it. You said that. And you put it out there into the world and you're acting like it makes sense. Does it? No. Afraid not. Doesn't make sense, buddy.
Go on, tell me how you're against the sort of system that put you on stage where others would conscript you into the army or put you in jail.
And I quit school at 9th grade.
You're like a regular Michael Collins, aren't you?
I had great marks. I was a smart kid, but I didn't care.
And here we come to my favorite aspect of edgy postmodern thought, the praise of apathy.
They didn't want to teach me what I want. I didn't give a shit. It's important in life if you don't give a shit. It can help you a lot.
I love how this is something that's looked up to nowadays. The people, the ideas we value are the ones who go, fuck caring about anything or anyone. Everything needs to be about me and my feelings.
So I didn't give a shit.
The caveat to that statement, whenever somebody makes it, is about anybody but me.
And I was this time, I was a pot smoker when I was 13. We broke the law, we broke into cars, we broke into offices, we broke into Columbia University, we broke into stores. We did all sorts of unlawful things.
So you broke the law, violated people's property rights, and cost taxpayer money to be an asshole. And now you expect to be praised for it. Look, I get it with examples like, you know, when Frederick the Great invaded Saxony, but the stuff you're saying is what people use when they want to say,
oh, Frederick the Great. Oh, Alexander the Great. Oh, Frederick the Great. I think we just need to call it, if we just call him George Carlin the Great, you'd be like, ooh, great. He's great. Oh, anybody called the Great is great. You know, like, you're going to fucking sit there and be like, a guy who goes into other people's countries and slaughters a bunch of people and rapes a bunch of women and steals their resources and just brutally installs himself as, I am now ruler of this land. That's a good guy. But a dude who in his youth broke into a few cars, oh shit, what a monster. And then he says he doesn't care about things. Did you hear him? He said he's apathetic towards things, guys. Yeah. You know what he was saying there? He's saying, I'm apathetic towards the stuff that society tells me I should care about because I see through the bullshit. I see that society has a particular agenda for me. And contrary to what you think, where society's agenda for him was just to hand him a fucking multi-decade career on a silver platter, what society wanted for him is like, you can be a bank manager, or you can be, an accountant, or whatever the fuck. That's what society wanted for him. But that's not what he wanted for himself. And he went out and he trailblazed and he made his own fucking path through life. It's obvious that he cared about some things. He's saying that he didn't care about the things he was told to care about. That's what that statement means, you fucking retard.
Say, hey, look how stupid I was when I was a teenager.
And I was that kind of person. I was one who swam against the tide of what is expected.
Yet despite all that, you've become a wildly successful comedian. So if anything, you did things that you thought went against the current, but still let it carry you because it gave you success. And people like you are the establishment now. Nobody is impressed that you make a joke about religion.
And what the establishment wants from us. But I didn't know that about myself, because this dream blinded me. This dream was about America, about the path that we all follow, the middle of the road, middle class, America, mainstream, will dream.
What, the middle class 1950s life, the most prosperous and stable period in history, when you could have the highest standard of living on earth, so much so that only one parent had to work a job that didn't even require a college degree, and could afford a big house with multiple cars and a television. This is the ideal life that people in all of history have only dreamed about. And now the greatest generation, which had to endure decades of poverty and war, have finally managed to achieve that and give their kids a life of peace and comfort. And you say, fuck that. That's one of the most selfish things I've ever heard.
Oh my God, dude. This is the kind of stupid fucking motherfucker that looks at, like, Leave It to Beaver and thinks it's a goddamn documentary or something. Look, my dad was born in 1949, and he grew up. His childhood was in the 50s, obviously. And guess what? It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. He grew up in the projects. And there was violence, and there was civil unrest, and there was despair. Why do you think the 60s happened? If the 50s were just this golden age, and everything's perfect, and everything's wonderful, why would anyone ever rock that fucking boat? Why would anyone ever, if everything was just hunky-dory and great by every fucking conceivable, measurable standard, then why did it devolve into civil unrest? Why did it devolve into one of the most tumultuous decades ever? Because it was a lie! You stupid, simpering son of a bitch! Like, how fucking stupid can one motherfucker be? Not much dumber than this, I promise you. I'm not pointing at George Carlin there. I'm pointing at you, fucking Fritz Imperial, with your vacant, fucking prattling, empty-headed nonsense nitwit talk. You stupid, empty-headed son of a bitch. You know, the joke I like to make about a son of a bitch as stupid as you is that they've only got 2 neurons, and some days they don't even fire back and forth to one another. But I'm convinced you only have 1 neuron bouncing the fucking electrical impulse against the wall and still being surprised when it comes back, caught off fucking guard. Jesus Christ. I bet you if we opened up your brain, it'd be like a chewed up piece of gum. It's a little tiny fucking nub of shit. God damn, you're the stupidest fucking idiot I have ever encountered in all of my fucking travels throughout this platform. I can't even conceive of someone as fucking hideously retarded as you are. And just completely off base. Nothing you say even accidentally makes a fucking lick of sense. I'm worried about my fucking own mental and physical health even trudging through more of your tedious, horrible, poorly argued video. Because I'm only halfway through and I already feel like I'm going to have a fucking heart attack.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there like this, fuck those people. Fuck that shit. Look at this stupid shit. No, I don't want...
Yeah, fuck those people. What have they ever done for you?
to be on the bunny number. Can I...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what he's talking about.
Get out of the bunny number, please. I don't want to put on that fucking uniform. And...
No one ever forced this on you. If you didn't want to live a mainstream life, being that we are a democracy, you can do whatever you want. But because we're not a solitary animal, you have to deal with the fact that people have social values and not everyone has to cater to you.
Yeah. He didn't... Like, what do you not understand? You stupid fuck. That's what he did. His journey is all about, here's the path that's been laid out for me. Okay? Here's the path. I need to walk a different path because I find this path unsatisfying. And he did. And he met with great success. Now, some people, they see the path that's laid before them and they deviate and it results in nothing but failure. Okay? So you're not guaranteed success if you stay on the path. You're not guaranteed success if you deviate from the path. But this is a story about a man who walked his own road and found success. That's what he actually did. So for you to be continuously acting like he did something else, like ask society to change to pander to him, is ludicrous. And by the way, even if that is what he'd done, plenty of people do that. What do you think politics is? Politics is all different factions of people squabbling to make the world more representative of their values and what they like. If anything, George Carlin eschewed even that and said, no, I just want to walk my own path. Leave man and mankind and society to its folly. I am going to walk my own path through life. And he did. He did. That's what he fucking did, sir. So what's the criticism? So far, your criticism seems to be predicated upon this absolutely false notion that he expected something handed to him by society and that he got it. But that's not the case whatsoever. What he got through constant development as an artist and solid entrepreneurship and understanding the way that the comedy business was changing decade by decade. And not even trying to change himself in such a way where I'm going to just follow a trend. No, he's like, I need to be the anti-trend. Whatever is the big thing in comedy right now, I'll go the opposite fucking direction. The world doesn't need a George Carlin that's saying what everyone else is saying and doing what everyone else is doing, but it does need a George Carlin that's reactive to the time that he's, performing in. And that's why you look at his career. A George Carlin routine in the 50s nothing like a George Carlin routine in the 60s, which is nothing like a George Carlin routine in the 70s, which is nothing like a George Carlin routine in the 80s, which is nothing like a George Carlin routine in the 90s, which is nothing like a George Carlin routine in the early 2000s, because he was constantly evolving. He was constantly pushing himself and his craft and his art form. Like, that's admirable stuff. Like, how do you look at that, even from a perspective of I disagree with George Carlin, and say that's not a good way to be, that's not a good story, that's not a good template for how a person should conduct themselves? A person shouldn't be adaptive and hardworking and industrious and constantly, I guess I already said adaptive, but that's the most important thing. Adapt to the time that you're in. Adapt to the place that you're in. Don't necessarily conform to it, but react to it in an honest way and constantly find new layers of honesty within yourself. How you possibly portray that as somehow a negative attribute, I think it speaks volumes about the shoddiness of your personal character.
And I didn't know this dissonance was inside me.
You didn't know you were a rebellious teenager?
And in the period this is happening, all through the 60s, the counterculture was forming. The free speech movement started.
I'm not, you know, I'm.
The hippies were growing into a force.
Which were a tiny minority of the actual population, and from which the anti-free speech, progressive fascists that control modern institutions like the media and education were born. The very people that modern anti-SJWs claim people like you opposed. Liberals, this is your fault.
And peace, love, power.
Okay, so, yeah, George Carlin rallied against what hippies became tons of times. You know, all of his bits about the PC culture and the yuppie cocksuckers and the natural fibers generation, that was all about how the hippies sold out and became the very thing they claimed to despise. So you're acting like he was just like, he's unaware of this. He's not. Like, I'm wondering how much of his material you've actually subjected yourself to, or like, it seems like the only thing you're even drawing from is this one interview. Like, you don't have any clips of his stage shows. You don't have any clips of... And by the way, you haven't even begun at 8 minutes and 42 seconds to lay out any sort of case for George Carlin being an SJW, which is the title of your fucking video. Like, I could make a better case for George Carlin being an SJW than you could. That's sad, because I don't even believe that position. I don't believe that position, and I could make a 10 times more compelling case for George Carlin, the SJW, than you could. Because you know what? He did have some fucking positions in common with the SJWs. He had some positions totally fucking contrary to them, too. But if I just ignored that and cherry-picked, I could definitely lay out a case George Carlin was a liberal SJW cuck. But you can't even effectively do that. So even in the fucking dishonest stated objective of your video, you're a fucking failure. That's sad.
Flower power, pot smoking, anti-authority.
And now they are the establishment. They are the authority. Traditionalism is the most...
Yeah, he was aware of that. He was aware of that. He's aware of that. You're stupid. You're fucking retard. Oh, you're a dumbass. You don't even know what you're talking about. Ah, all right. Enough. It's all I can stands, and I can't stands no more of this shit. All right? So, piss off. You're a dumbass. I hope I never see one of your fucking dumbass videos again. Okay, this video is called The Amazing Atheist is a Jackass by a Jordan Peterson fanboy, number 61682-4.
I don't know what it is with TJ Kurt and going like full fucking retard whenever he covers like a Jordan Peterson video, but he does every fucking time. None of his points.
Maybe it's because I want to argue with Jordan on a level playing field. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know.
Makes sense. All he does is, and in fact, he makes himself look like a buffoon pretty much every fucking time. It's kind of hilarious. He was talking about, or he's actually analyzing the video.
Made myself look like a what? Did you catch that? Buffoon. Oh, okay.
There's actually an interview Jordan Peterson did where he's explaining porn and its over accessibility is bad. You know, internet porn, and you just look up porn and be there. His whole argument is porn is bad because it makes it too easy to jack off, which means that you're not going to be motivated to go out and find.
It's already really easy to jack off. It's always been easy to jack off. It's never been tough. It's like you grab your dick in your hands and you go, thought it was pretty good. Done again in about an hour. That's so, you know, I don't know how porn makes it too easy. You know what makes it way more difficult to jerk off? Chop off both your hands. Then you can't jerk off. Well, maybe you can nub it. I'm just gonna rub the nub. You know? So then it's hard. You know, but you can't do anything about it. I don't understand this argument. Oh, it's just too easy to jerk off if there's porn. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like, there's plenty of human history happened before the advent of porn, and I guarantee you dudes are still jerking off. You know, verily, the milk maiden I spotted on my way to the shanty was most cleavagey. I can't talk like one of those old school fucks, but, you know, and then they fucking go behind the fucking woodshed and, you know, I won't do it again, but, you know, it's not a difficult thing to jerk off, okay? I remember being a little kid and being like, oh, look, the Victoria's Secret catalog came in the mail, ooh. Or, you know, you steal the Playboy from under your fucking, you know, dad's bed or whatever the fuck. You could jerk off. You could just jerk off. You can use your imagination. You could use the fucking Playboy catalog. You could sit there in your fucking bedroom watching, like, the scrambled channels. That was something I did as a kid. You know, like, every once in a while, the channel would kind of phase in where you could see a nipple or something. Be like, yes! You know? So I don't know. It doesn't seem like jerking off has ever been some kind of, like, difficult fucking task or anything. Like, you know, like it was invented around the same time pornography was or some shit.
Find an actual mate and do something with your life, because it's just too easy to, you know. And honestly, that makes sense, because you got a lot of people out there that are depressed and committing suicide because they can't get fucking laid. And, I mean, the whole reason for that is because internet porn is just too easy to fucking get a hold of. I mean, of course, there's always been the fucking closet dwelling. But, I mean...
All right, so let me explain something to you. Tons of people look at porn and still manage to form relationships and get laid and have girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever the fuck they want. Tons of people can still do that. It doesn't seem to stop anybody from doing it. I'd like to see any sort of citation of, like, suicide is up because porn. Like, I mean, do you have any hard data to back that up at all? You know, I think that there's probably lots of reasons why things like suicide and depression and anxiety are up in society. And maybe, I'll grant you maybe porn is part of that cocktail. Yeah. But where's the evidence for that? You know? Like, do you have any evidence? Do you have any data points you want to share with us maybe? I don't know.
Now it's more widespread. I see more basement dwellers than I think there probably were in history. I mean, I wasn't alive in the 80s, so I can't exactly pull reference from that, but it feels like to me, in fact, statistics tend to show that people are having less and less...
The whole point of basement dwellers is you don't see them, because they're dwelling in the basement, right? I've seen more basement dwellers than ever before in history. I mean, I have no point of reference to even know that, and I look like a basement dweller myself and stuff. Like, I guarantee you, dude, I'm not trying to even insult your appearance, but, like, I hate to break this to you, but 99% of people that see on the street think of you as a basement dweller. So... you know, maybe that's untrue, maybe that's unfair, but, you know, this is kind of the appearance you got. You know, this is the hand you're dealt. Hand you're dealt.
Sex nowadays, this younger generation. And Jordan Peterson was basically just explaining why that was a problem. And I do agree with pretty much, excuse me, goddamn voice crack. I do agree with pretty much what he was saying to a T. You know, it just makes it...
It didn't really sound like it cracked. It just sounded like it was every bit as high-pitched as it's been throughout the video. But I do have you sped up, because, I mean, I can't even imagine trying to listen to you at regular speed.
Too easy to you know, basically, like, if you want like a positive change, most people have to be put in some sort of like discomfort, and it's just too easy and too comfortable of an option. You know, unfortunately, it's just too comfortable. And there are too many people that would rather sit at home and instead of actually going out and finding somebody.
Hey, how about this? If that's the choice that some people want to make, why don't you just, I don't know, respect that and leave them the fuck alone? Like, why do we need to socially engineer people going out and getting laid? Like, is there some kind of human shortage that I'm not aware of where it's so fucking important that people keep breeding? Because to me, I look around the world, I kind of see the opposite. You know, I kind of feel like there's 7 billion people on the planet. And, you know, I mean, every time I hear anything about, like, birth rates are going down, I'm like, fuck yeah, good, great, awesome. Well, it's going to hurt the economy. Okay, yeah, that's great, good, rock on, cool. Because that'll kill even more people. Economy goes to shit, even more people dead. Less people, good. More people, bad. And maybe you disagree with me on that, but that's where my head's at.
And that is a real, actually, like, statistically verifiable problem. I mean,
all right, so, yeah, let's hear the statistics then.
That is a problem. I mean, the incel community on fucking the internet and just all that crazy shit.
Oh, the incel community on the internet and all that crazy shit. Is that the statistic? I didn't hear a number in there anywhere. I just was waiting for the number. You said there was a statistic, and then there was no reference to a statistic, so it's kind of, you know. If you're going to reference a statistic, I feel like there should maybe be a point where you cite it or something, or at least make an allusion to it. Like, hey, you know, you can find this statistic here that says, you know, even if you don't know it offhand, like, I read this statistic that said 20% of this did that, and maybe I'm off by a few percentage points, but it's like basically this, and you can look at it here, and here's how you look it up on Google, and blah, 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 blah. You didn't do that. You're just like, there's statistics out there that support what I'm saying, and anyway, here's more bullshit. Like, where's this fucking statistic? You know, you're going to cite it, then fucking cite it. Don't just cite the vague existence of some statistic out there somewhere that supports the nonsense you're spouting.
Which I'm glad I'm not a part of, by the way. But needless to say, like that, the reason that exists, I mean, for the most part, I believe personally, it's because of internet porn. It's really bad. I mean, honestly, it is really bad because it desensitizes you to women. You know, because most women don't look like the women you see in porn. They just don't. I mean, it's very unrealistic.
It's not unrealistic. Those women do exist. Now, maybe some of them have had to augment themselves to a large degree, to get there. But they do exist in the world. There are women that look like that. And, yeah, you could say, oh, it doesn't, I don't know, not all women, you know, it conditions you. You know, it also conditions you to think that every dick is fucking 10 inches long, you know? It conditions you to, but, you know, it doesn't actually condition you to do that. It's as stupid as saying, like, I watched an action movie where the hero jumped off a building and shot 50 dudes on his way down and then landed on a fucking awning and was fine, and that gave me the expectation that I should be able to perform such tasks. Like, if you're that stupid where you look at a fucking piece of entertainment and say, this is a reflection of reality, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, Darwinian natural selection at that point. If a dude looks at porn and he's so stupid that he thinks that he's going to get a woman that looks like that when he's a scraggly-ass neckbeard with no money and doesn't have any fucking thing going for him, if he's that fucking silly and stupid, then I don't want him breeding. I don't want him busting a nut in some bitch and churning out some other fucking retard idiot twat 9 months later that's going to be another fucking car on the road in front of me, another douchebag in the line, another moron at a fucking, you know, restaurant that can't control their fucking kids or whatever the fuck bullshit, useless sack of shit person that motherfucker is going to produce. I got news for you. I don't want that person. I don't want him. No part of me gives a flying fuck. I am glad the incels can't get laid. I think it's a fucking blessing to humanity those motherfuckers can't get a girl. But let me tell you something. It's not even true they can't get a girl. They just don't even try. They just want to sit around and mope and bitch and complain. And it's not porn's fault. It's the fact that they got no balls. All right? Porn didn't do that to them. They're just useless fucking genetic dead-end people who don't need to be cluttering up future generations with their useless fucking DNA. And fuck them. Fuck them. Actually, don't fuck them. It's kind of the point.
And it creates... what's the word I'm looking for?
The word you're looking for is it creates unrealistic beauty standards. That's the argument you're trying to make, but you don't want to come out and say that because that's an SJW term, and you don't want anyone to put together that you're actually making a very, like, feminist argument right now, despite the fact that you're a Peterson fanboy. So that's why you're struggling to come up with a term, even though it's right there for you to grab right off the fucking tree. Yeah, what you're arguing is that porn creates unrealistic beauty standards, which is a feminist talking point. Own up to it, sir.
It just creates a problem. I mean, that's the only word I can think, because you got these, you're used to seeing these beautiful chicks, and like, you're trying to get with that, and like biologically, I mean, you are right, TJ Kirk. This like biologically, like if you're looking for that, and you're looking like fucking like Hagrid or some shit, like, sorry man, probably not.
I'm sorry, I'm not even following. It's like you start like 8 sentences and complete none of them. Yeah, come on.
It's not gonna happen for you.
Bring it.
A bad standard. It's just bad all around, because people expect something that they can't get. Basically, is what I'm saying, and so. Yeah, that is a real fucking problem.
If that's a genuine expectation on their part, once again, they shouldn't be breeding. They shouldn't be passing their genetic legacy down.
That is a real fucking problem. And nothing that Jordan Peterson had to say was wrong. In fact, I mean, there's statistics, like I said, to back it up. So all TJ Kirk could really...
Nothing that Jordan Peterson had to say was wrong. He's an infallible God among men. He is never, ever wrong. I got news for you. Jordan Peterson's never right. Well, maybe not never. Oh, I stopped you at 420. That seems like a sign from the gods.
Muster, as far as an argument to counter this, was porn is enjoyable. Internet porn is enjoyable. I enjoy it. So why is that? Why is that bad?
I think that's the only argument that needs to be made. Yeah. Okay, so here, let me just get this straight. 2 people make a decision. I want to be a porn star because I want to fuck hot women for a living. I also, as a woman, want to be a porn star because I like getting fucked in my pussy all the time, and I think getting paid for it would be neat. And some guy with a camera is like, I will film this and sell it to people because then I can afford to pay both of you money to have sex on camera. And then he puts the porn out there into the world, and people like me jerk off to it. Oh, yeah, fuck her in the butt and call her a skank-ass bitch. Yeah! So let's see. I came, they made money. It's $1 billion plus industry, so all kinds of people. So people are making money, people are having orgasms, everyone's having a good time, but we're supposed to stop because some fucking basement-dwelling incel somewhere can't handle his fucking porn, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go crazy and Elliot Rodgers some people because I can't get laid because of the unrealistic beauty standards that have affected me from watching too much pornography. No, that's a dumb argument, dude. That's a dumb argument from a dipshit mentality. And Jordan Peterson, when he made it, was a retard, and you, when you're regurgitating it poorly, are also a retard.
And unfortunately, I mean, statistics do...
Unfortunately, that's all the time you have for today. Goodbye. Next! Howard Schultz calls Green New Deal immoral and not realistic. Okay, let's hear it.
As a lifelong Houstonian, I've seen the damages that hurricanes have caused to my city, and I watched as Harvey continued in a devastating way that damage. So in the face of a warming climate that leads to more powerful storms, how much of a priority would climate change be to your administration, and what are some plans you have to tackle that issue?
Thank you for the question. I think...
You know, I don't care. I've done a long enough show. Fuck this. Y'all guys have a good fucking one. Thanks for being patrons. By the way, for the guy who submitted this Prime Directive video here from this black pill moron, don't worry. I'm gonna do it. Just not here. I think this deserves to be standalone with a little bit higher production value out of me, because this is dumb. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry for the whole David Pakman thing that I just didn't even... I never found a place to sink my teeth into it. I don't agree with it, but it's just too middling of a... I just wanted there to be some kind of thing where I argued with a left-winger, but honestly, this just wasn't the right video to do it with. So sorry about the kind of dead air that I had there. Go check out the David Pakman video. Maybe you'll see why I disagree with it, but it's just not even worth bringing up. So sorry about that little dead space there of like 5 minutes or whatever it was. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This is Band and Hope. TJ Kirk. Peace the fuck out. And that's it.